today. It's Relationship Unscripted with that dude, Coach Kenn. Coach Kenn.
With our lives, period. So that does, I definitely, I hadn't thought about that before, but it definitely does open up that feeling and that new experience for women as well.
You know, what's interesting, as I was doing my research and preparing for this podcast and this conversation with you, I found out, did not know this, that there were approximately 9 types of polyamorous situations that you could be in. And I was blown away. And I'm just reading this stuff and I'm like, what? So yeah, I read through all 9 of them. And again, it just never dawned on me the dynamics, how all of this is coming together. And I think you touched on this already, how it is, I want to call it an agreed upon arrangement of how person A and person B are going to interact in a relationship. What are the rules for engagement of our relationship? So what's the difference between this and an open relationship where everybody is just out there doing their thing? Now, I'm thinking that in an open relationship, everybody's just doing their thing and it's still like siloed. They're doing their thing, you doing your thing, and everybody's we know that it's an open relationship, but everybody's off doing their thing. In a polyamorous relationship, it sounds as if it's talked about and agreed upon and everybody kind of knows how everybody is moving. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yeah, you can pretty much say that. And open marriages, open relationships, yeah, it's a little more open, a little less restrictive. And a lot in the polyamorous relationships, successful ones, should I say, ones that have a chance at success. Because you can just jump in and be like, hey, we're poly, we're just gonna do our thing, and yeah, see how that works for you. So really having those boundaries, like for instance, I was in a situation where there were rules that if you're going to talk to someone, if you're going to entertain someone, that's someone you're going to be serious about, no sex on the first date. And that's for it, so you're not just hopping around here just having sex, because that's called swinging. And people think, they get that confused too. That's a whole nother point of confusion. They get polyamory mixed up with swinging, whereas mostly swingers, they have rules that you cannot get emotionally involved. Whereas it's just sexual, it's just fun, but where it comes to polyamory, the goal is to be emotionally involved. Gotcha. The goal is to have love, a relationship with substance. So,
Jennifr, I'm sorry for cutting you off, because I want to make certain I get this in there. You mentioned the word rules.
Yes.
What are the rules? I know rules are going to vary.
Right, they're going to vary.
Give me the basic rules. Give me the basic rules.
Back to the rules. Now you're going to have to keep me on track, because this is a really broad topic, so there's a lot to say.
Okay, let me throw a disclaimer out there. We're not trying to recruit people for the lifestyle. We're just giving you information.
It's not for everybody.
Okay, all right. We're just giving y'all information. For those of you that have heard and didn't know, we're trying to give y'all what y'all need to know about this. So, Jennifr, let's go. Give us the rules.
So some of the rules that I've encountered within my relationships or others, no sex on the first date. For some, they even go as far, and I was in a relationship where if you're going to entertain somebody else, then before you actually go out on a date with them, or no, actually, you can go on a date, but after you go on a date, before you take it any further, they have to reach out to me. They have to reach out to me through text. They could just say, hey, this is so-and-so. I met, your husband or your partner, blah, 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 blah. And, nice to meet you. And I write back, okay, cool. Nice to meet you. And it sounds very weird and strange, but
it does.
What that did is made sure that you don't think that he's just running around here cheating on me.
That keeps everything on the up and up.
Because men and women will go out there and pretend they're single, or pretend like, whatever it is, and some people are like, oh, all right, cool. They like that. And that goes back to your side chick conversation. So, this just keeps everything open, saying, look, we are all aware. Say, oh, my wife knows about you. Your wife does not know about me. Stop. Text her. So that's kind of what that does. Says, wow, this is okay. Wow, this is really cool. So I've been in those type of situations where it was like that.
Okay, hold on, because now we're gonna come back to rules, but now how does somebody introduce this into the conversation? So I'm just imagining, you said you were bisexual. So let's say some guy, you chilling, doing your East Coast stuff, you out and about, doing your thing. This guy sees you, you're interested. How do you introduce him into the fact that, as I'm use Jada's word, I'm in an entanglement, a situation that you may or may not want to be in. So how do you explain how do you work this into the conversation over dinner, over drinks?
I mean, honestly, and I'm just going to speak from my experience. Honestly, when it comes to men, they don't care either way. The women are the ones that care. The women are the ones that you have to really make them understand what's going on.
Explain that, please. Explain the
so when I enter into conversations with men, they're just like, wow, really? And it's like, I just tell them that, yeah, I'm married, but we're allowed to date other people. It's that simple.
So do you use the word poly? Or do you skip the explanation?
I throw it in there, but most people don't know what I'm saying. So what's the point? Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so, as I continue to see that person or explore and speak with that person, then they'll know it. But most of the people that I met was on dating sites. And so all of that's already in the profile. So if you've contacted me, you already know what the situation is.
Gotcha.
And that's the easiest way to go about it, really. Just put it out there. And if you've contacted me, that means that you know about what's going on. But yeah, a lot of people just have been really cool with it. And some people have gotten into it and realized that, no, this isn't for me. I was dating a couple at one time, and that turned into a really interesting situation. Once she decided that she didn't want to be a part of that anymore. So then I asked her if I could continue to date her husband. You don't bring people into something and be like, nah, I'm good.
Now, in case anybody is wondering, my whole head is spinning right now because she is saying some things. I'm like, huh? What? Because these are so, and no shade by that last statement. It just simply means a lot of what you're talking about right now is so unconventional. That it's kind of like, for me, seeing when they say when pigs fly. Well, when you see a pig fly, you're like, he's flying, but why? What's happening? You can't quite rationalize it in your brain when you do see it. And so to hear you say, Lord Jesus, to hear you say, I'm going to ask her, is it okay for me to continue dating your husband? I'm like, what in the world? But again, this is the life.
And this is not everyone's experience. I want to make that very, very, very clear. This is not everyone's experience. I am not speaking for every person involved in the polyamorous relationship. I can only speak from the experiences that I've had and the people around me.
Okay.
And from things that I've read as well while I was when I started getting back into it years and years later.
Now you said going back to my question I asked earlier, you said that you got to a space where originally this wasn't for you. Yes. What are you in a space where you can tell us just a little bit about that when you came to that conclusion, and then apparently you said, okay, maybe that was a bad steak. Let me go try to get another steak and see how they cook this one. And now you into steak. So how did you get back into it if you was like, I tried it, not for me. Well, let me try it again and see. So how do we get there?
Yeah, so how I got there is I said, okay, because the guy who said, yeah, you can have a girlfriend, he was actually proposing to me at the same time. It was in the proposal after I had already broken up with him. So that's why I was like, well, I mean, all right.
Where that dude at? Where he at?
Ooh.
Okay, that's another conversation. That's a coaching session. We'll talk about that offline. Okay, keep going. And I'm
But
like, I want to meet that dude. Like,
no,
man,
actually, I married that dude and was married to him for a decade.
gotcha.
And,
Already know the backstory. Keep going.
so my point is that how did I get back into it? I did the traditional way.
Sure.
I was like, I'm going to do it traditional. I mean, I was in it to win it. When I tell you, people didn't even know about my sexual orientation because I was so traditional. And so, on the outside. And so eventually, but he is the one who wanted to try the life, get back into it. So he had been trying to talk me into it for a few years, and I did not want it. But actually, for me, honestly, and it's strange, but it was like a last ditch effort to save my relationship, to save my marriage with him. He'd been asking me, and still not giving me what I need. And I'm like, well, maybe this will do something different,
Right.
And so that's never a way to get into that kind of lifestyle. You get into it for you because it's a decision that you want it for you. So I do want to make that point. Don't do it for somebody else. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I think during the process, it really takes such an undoing of the mind and shifting that it's like, oh my gosh, to even try to shift it back to traditional monogamy after you've experienced that shift, it's difficult. And it's like, okay, so what's the point?
What's interesting, Jennifr, is that what I think what I'm wrestling with in my own mind, based on my own experiences and as a coach, is I know that in the course of taking steps down this path, somebody is going to be catching feelings more than the other person. So you might have one person that is 1,000% in, and then two other people, if that's the situation, we'll keep it simple math here, three people. One person is 1,000% in emotionally, they all over the top, clingy and XYZ. And then you got somebody else that's probably, 400% in, and they're like, hey, I'm enjoying the company. And then you got somebody else like they can take it or leave it.
Right.
But you got that person that's 1,000% in, and this is like a thing for them. Or now that they've invited this other person in, they went into it for the wrong reasons, and maybe now they're not getting the attention they thought they were going to get. And so what they were void attention at first, and now they're really not getting attention. Their intimacy is still struggling because now that intimacy that they wanted is, they see it now being expounded upon this other person. So this other person, I'm thinking, is like, I say respectfully, like a new toy, something shiny. And so that's where this person is now getting this energy from. So does that happen where you got again, simple math, we know that there's various ways you could do this, 4 people, 5 people, whatever the agreed upon number is.
Right.
And I'm going to ask you in a moment, at what point does this become all out orgy? I'm going to ask you that in a moment, because I'm like, can you get to like 7 to 8 people, and how does that work? But for right now, how does that work? How do you keep everybody keeping their emotions in check and in balance when you're dealing with affairs of the heart in this matter? How does that work?
Well, the same way that you deal with different struggles in a monogamous relationship. You get you a relationship coach. They have polyamorous relationship coaches out there. They have programs that you can go to, books you can read, self-help. It's all the same, but it's just different struggles. One of the biggest struggles is jealousy. I read a book that redefined jealousy and why we shouldn't be jealous, because polyamory is not about ownership, whereas monogamy is about ownership. So you can't be jealous. Let that person be a whole person, and who they choose to be with is who they choose to be with. And then you have your rules, blah, 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 blah. But at the core of it, I'm saying, so they have a lot of material out there that helps people deal with the different struggles and challenges that come in other relationships too, but like maybe even stronger in a polyamorous relationship. And that jealousy is one of the things. Okay. That jealousy definitely is. And I think it depends a lot on where did you all come into a relationship at the same time, or were these two people together for years and now they've decided now they're bringing in someone else? That those type of things happen, and to kind of combat that, sometimes people decide on hierarchies. This is
Mm-hmm.
my primary partner. This
Mm-hmm.
is my secondary partner. But then some people like to be the secondary partner because they're kind of like the one who's being taken care of, kind of like.
Now, let me ask you again. That's that side chick conversation where it's like I've heard people in coaching. They will say, "Well, coach, this is my main chick. She know what it is. She's my main chick, but I got some other situations that's happening. And everybody know about everybody. Now he's the only one benefiting from it, and they are not necessarily interacting with each other, but they all know each other. So to a degree, I think what people need to understand is that there are a lot of polyamorous relationships happening. They may be a little on the fringes of dysfunctional because they haven't established what these rules are going to be. But I think the reason this topic was so fascinating for me, because as a coach, I see this happening and people don't realize that it's either happening around them, happening to them, or they've been in one and they just haven't really realized that they need to do something about it. So that is, as I'm listening to you describe this, I'm thinking, you know what, this is that new move where people say, you know what, I don't need to be married. I can just be in a relationship. And for me, the whole thought of monogamy, the whole thought of how relationships are structured, the man-wife, whatever it is, traditional vibe that we would normally all have done, the dynamics of that is changing. And I think a lot of people are in a polyamorous relationship or again on the fringes of it and don't realize that they are. So
yeah, I think the biggest part about that is because what I see is that, yes, there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I know he's with this person, I know he's with that, whatever, I ain't worried about it. But like, is it something that you accepted because you wanted to be with him? Risk versus reward, right?
Right.
I wanted to be with him, so I'll accept this. That's not polyamory. Polyamory is, we want to do this, or I'm allowing you to do this and you're allowing me to do this, or whatever we've agreed. That's what it is. So, but it's not one of those, I don't want to break up my family and I don't want to lose him. And, but these so good, or whatever the case may be. No, I'm just going to let this go. Because I ain't worried about her. I'm the main, you know what I'm saying? So that's not poly.
Right. I get that. And I agree.
Unfortunately, it's more of a woman who's not accepting her worth.
Okay. Okay. All right. No pushback on that, because I don't want these young ladies that be listening to the podcast to come at me. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. Okay. But let's think about this. What would a successful, keeping just basic numbers, let's say number of 3, what would be the basic number of 3 in a relationship? What would be a successful relationship? What were some of the things that would denote a successful relationship? Or would it be the same as a normal, not normal, because it's not abnormal, but a traditional, same thing as a traditional man-wife relationship? And I would imagine the successes would look the same in a polyamorous relationship. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think communication and emotional maturity is needed in every relationship, but I think that those are some things that you might need them a little more in a polyamorous type of situation. And trust. Okay. You have to trust. And then now you have this person, because you can trust your partner and you can't trust the person that he's with. You don't trust that person.
Interesting. So what are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the drawbacks to being in this type of situation?
Some of the drawbacks is exactly what you mentioned earlier, like the shiny new toy syndrome. So, you have this shiny new toy and you're doing all the things for that person that you stopped doing for the person that you were with before, so that is a big downfall. And again, that comes to emotional maturity. And what's the reason that you got into it? Did you start because you just wanted to screw other people and you wanted your wife or your girlfriend to be okay with it? Or did you start because you actually believe that you can love more than one person at a time? That's what polyamorous is all about, because traditionally we're taught, if you slept with them, you don't love me. No, they probably do love you still. Just are interested over there. Maybe we could talk about level of respect, but they love you. You can't love me, and do you love her? That's all I want to know. The movies, they still show it all the time. All I want to know is, do you love her? And they're like, yes, I love her. Now the relationship is over. You can love more than one person. So a lot of people don't think like that, but when you have that kind of mindset, that helps a polyamorous relationship be successful too.
Gotcha. Now, has there ever been a situation? I'm sure there has, but is it commonplace where, again, we're staying with a basic number of 3, and it is agreed upon, we're going to bring person C, A, B, C, person C into the relationship, and then person A and C, like, you know what, we gonna kick person B out this mix, and me and you gonna go do something. We're gonna be together. That would be a little hard to take. So how does that happen? Because that sounds like if A and B are together, A and B invites C in, and then A and C start getting along, and they kick B out the equation altogether, and now A and C is off having a relationship. I would almost think that A had this whole master plan under their belt the whole time. So
a lot of times it could be like that.
That's a problem.
It is.
Okay, so that's one of the things you have to consider if you're going to bring someone into the situation. You have to know it, as we're talking about pitfalls. You have to understand that this might not go how you think it is going to go.
This is the thing. When I said that I got into it the second time, I got into it because my partner wanted me to, right? And I didn't do it, and I did it as a last ditch effort to save my relationship because it wasn't going right.
Right.
So that's where those type of situations come from. If you have to be really strong in your relationship, and typically if there's a monogamous relationship happening and it's super strong, they're probably not usually interested in bringing in someone else. So that going from monogamy to bringing in a third person, and then now they might switch, is because your relationship wasn't strong from the beginning.
Now, what's interesting is I'm still in that space where I am trying to understand. Again, full disclosure, I've never been in this situation. I've never had anybody, of course, love my wife. Can't imagine us being in any sort of situation like this, but that's our thing, right? And I'm trying to understand just the whole shebang of this whole poly community and thought process. Now, I'm trying to figure out how do you, and this is more so for you, taking you back to how do you introduce that to, how was it introduced to you? Hey, babe, you want to go out to dinner? Yeah, and y'all ordering dinner. It's like, you know what I've been thinking. How do you slide that into the conversation and still think you can go home and close your eyes and not catch them hot grits?
Let me tell you what you do. I'm going to tell you what you do, okay? And I don't want the people out there to go and do this, but you find that Netflix documentary that talks about how we are not naturally monogamous and all of that, because there is one, and that's what was played for me.
Now, did he say, hey, sit down and let's Netflix and chill? Or again,
we watch stuff all the time. So it's like, all right, we're going to sit down and
watch this. Okay.
We watch documentaries all the time. So, here's a new one. Oh, here's people who do weird things and get weird piercings. Oh, this one. How about this one? Here's one about monogamy.
Interesting. Now, what's along those lines, there are things I can watch and I'm like, okay, well, I already know that's not even in my lane. It's absolutely, so I ain't got to worry about weird piercings, getting stuff caught up in certain spaces and orifices of my body. I ain't got to worry about none of that, right? So I can watch those and they don't register. But when I'm seeing stuff like poly stuff, I'm like, and let me be clear, things only register to you that are able to register to you, meaning something in you, it clicks in some aspect. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to act on it, but
Right.
some people can watch that documentary that you're talking about and it doesn't register at all. They're like, why are we watching this? And it just goes over their head. They're like, oh, I just absolutely would never do that. Okay. But you have some people that all of a sudden now their brain is thinking, is he trying to tell me something? Is she trying to tell me something? I didn't even know this was a thing. Maybe I should mention this to him. Now it is, a seed has been planted. I think that's what happened with you. A seed was planted, and now that seed started to take root, and now we can have an open conversation. So was he okay? Now,
No, the open conversation happened in the beginning as the documentary was going on. Oh, there was pausing, dialogue.
Y'all had a class going on.
Yeah, he had a whole class. I call it like micro dosing. If people are familiar with that, that concept of you kind of do it in marketing, but you also do it like with like shrooms and stuff. But not me, but I know about stuff. A little bit about everything. so so it's basically you give a little bit, and then the next time a little more, then the next time a little more, to the point where it doesn't even affect your body to like really bad, because you've little by little gotten more of it, and it's just feeling normal. So I think that's kind of how a lot of ideas work, where you
Agreed.
just get a little bit, and over time a little more, and it starts becoming normalized in your mind. So that's what that was. It was a 4-year span of microdosing that made me
Okay.
in the decision. So yeah.
Okay. So so we get to a situation where we're back to our basic number of 3, A, B, and C. C is the person they invited to the relationship. A and B decide to get together. A and C decide to get together. I can just imagine B just going off the rails. B is about to be a real B. And for real, she is getting ready to be a capital B and getting ready to show enough make somebody's life miserable because she didn't sign on for this outcome. And I'm guessing it's because she probably went into it again for the wrong reasons and not understanding, much like the stock market, just because you put your money in, that don't mean you're going to get your money out. So you could lose in this, but you can also win. But in that case, she lost. So how does once one gets into a polyamorous lifestyle, is it possible to get out and to purge yourself of those cravings and feelings, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. One thing I've always said is, for me, polyamory, monogamy, they're all just relationship structures. But at the end of the day, we all need to have an idea of what we want out of our relationship, whether it's in a monogamous setting or those are just settings, but the relationship is the relationship. So I've always said, if I find the right person who, checks, my check marks and everything, and is really giving me what I want, and which I'm not high maintenance. So really giving me what I want, then whatever relationship structure they're down with, I'm down with. Like, okay, you want me to be your girlfriend for the next 30 years? Sure. You want me to marry you? Okay. All right. Sure. Like, like so whatever, because the structure doesn't matter as much to me.
Just so the people know, because I know somebody gonna write in and say, hey, is she in a relationship? Can I holler at her? Look, this is not the hookup site, folks. Let me be clear. Don't be inboxing me trying to get at her, because I ain't giving up no information. But just for those that are wondering, I'm not asking for the structure. Are you in a poly relationship now? What type of relationship are you in as you and I are talking?
As you and I are talking, I was in a polyamorous relationship. Started out as a polyamorous relationship with me and my girlfriend, and we allowed this man to come in. She didn't last a month with him. She was like, nah, this ain't it. But babe, if you want to keep talking to him, you can. So I did, and so just recently he and I split, and her and I are still together, but she recently got married to a man. So I am in a polyamorous relationship. I do not have any dealings with her husband whatsoever. And it's been made clear when you step into it, listen, she's not going anywhere. This is my wife. This is what it is. So take it or leave it. And of course they're going to take it because we're
so
both
he's aware. He's aware.
Yes.
Her husband is aware of you.
Yes.
So, okay, you guys are all East Coast, same proximity, because I know where you're at, but same proximity.
No,
so you're
I'm
in
not
different
in
areas.
the same
So
proximity.
you got to get on some sort of mode of transportation to get to one or the other. So do y'all make time to have to go see each other, or how does that work? This is now the other dynamic where now it's a long distance.
Long distance.
Yeah, I'm like, Lord, whoo, it's a lot of work.
You know, and I literally just asked the question a couple days ago to her, is he gonna have a problem? You know, because he seems real chill about it. Okay, cool. All right, I don't know. So I'm asking if he's going to have a problem if we start seeing each other more often. So, and she says
what's
no.
the answer?
She says no. Look at your face.
I don't know. I don't know. We can all say no until.
But a lot of men are okay with, and that's misogyny doesn't work well for us in some situations, but in this situation it does, because a lot of men are okay, and that's what I've experienced. They're saying, I don't care if you date another woman as long as I'm your only king, as long as I'm the only man.
Got you.
You know, and so so I end up dating people who aren't really poly. They just like me. So
you're a likable person, Jennifr. I mean, really, you're a likable person. So last question for you, and I thank you for on behalf of all of the people that are going to be listening to this podcast. If I am able to get you live, is that something that you would be willing to do? Because I want to give people the opportunity to ask you questions or even refute some of the things that you and I are on here saying. Because I'm a person that I believe I'm going to back my words up and tell you why I stand where I stand. But I'm also open to hear other people's opinions. So if you could, I'm not asking you to tell me at this moment, but I want you to please look at your schedule. I know you're busy. You got music, books. Y'all, she's super talented. And at some point, we're going to give y'all some links so y'all can get to her, because she got a whole lot of stuff happening that will really open up your mind, and just some will be some great experiences for you. Today's not that day, but as we get ready to go, as her and I work together and we agree to go on a live feed and talk about this topic, answer a few questions, that's when we'll start dropping some links and telling you how you can find out more about Jennifr and her whole East Coast polyamorous experience and all that good stuff. But again, we enjoyed very much having you. Thank you for just dropping some jewels all throughout this. I'm not surprised. They may be surprised, because I've had the pleasure of talking to you before and I already knew this was going to be a phenomenal conversation, but it's not over. So you guys stay tuned for part 2. It's going to be coming up. Send all your comments into the inbox. You can get to me at Coach Kenn Podcast, all one word, at gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts. You got any questions for Jennifr, send them there and I'll make sure she gets them. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll keep you guys posted. This is Relationship Unscripted with Coach Kenn.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from Relationship Unscripted, you can follow us on Instagram. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Ain't no lies being told here today. It's Relationship Unscripted with that dude, Coach Kenn. Coach Kenn.